You know, whenever people talk about who really runs the world, there's always one name that gets whispered, almost like a secret: Rothschild. They are, without a doubt, the most legendary, the most controversial, and maybe the least understood dynasty in all of history. A family that from deep in the shadows literally helped build the world we live in today. I mean, we're talking about a financial empire that once made entire nations look small. So that brings us to the big question, right? Why isn't a single one of them on the Forbes rich list today? It's the central mystery we're going to unravel. Their incredible power seems to have just vanished from public view. So where did it all go?
To solve this puzzle, we have to go back, way back to the very beginning. Back to a place that wasn't designed to build an empire at all. In fact, it was designed to contain a people.
Okay, so picture this. We're in 18th century Frankfurt, Germany. But forget the grand city squares and cathedrals. We're going to a single, cramped, walled-off street, because that's where this whole incredible story begins.
See, starting all the way back in 1462, the entire Jewish population of Frankfurt was forced to live on this one street, the Judengasse, which literally means Jews' Alley. And right here, in this alley, Meyer Amschel Rothschild was born. His family name wasn't some noble title, it just meant Red Shield, named after the sign hanging on their house. From the moment he was born, he was an outsider.
So how on earth did they rise from that to, well, to global dominance? Well, here's the crazy irony. The very system that was built to hold them down gave them their greatest weapon. Back then, Christians were forbidden by the church from practicing usury, that's lending money and charging interest. So this created a financial niche that Jewish communities were pushed into. They were forced to become the experts in managing money, a skill born from discrimination.
And Mayer Rothschild didn't just use this expertise, he forged it into a revolutionary master plan. He realized he wasn't going to conquer Europe with armies. No, he was going to do it with a network, a family network.
His strategy was pure genius. He had 5 sons, and he sent them out like 5 arrows aimed at the heart of Europe. One stayed in Frankfurt, the home base. The others went to Vienna, London, Naples, and Paris, the 5 most important financial hubs on the continent. What they created was something the world had never seen: the first truly international bank. It was a private intelligence network that could move money, and more importantly, information, faster than any king or government could.
And here's where you see that network just flex its incredible power. The Battle of Waterloo is the stuff of legend. While Napoleon and Wellington were fighting, Nathan Rothschild, in London, used his network of couriers to find out who won a full 24 hours before the British government itself knew. He took that knowledge to the stock exchange, made an absolute fortune, and basically cemented the family's power with the British crown. Talk about insider trading.
Okay, so with that kind of wealth and influence, you can imagine what happened next. As we roll into the 19th century, things just explode. The Rothschilds weren't just bankers anymore. They became the architects, the literal builders of the industrial age.
Just think about the infrastructure of our world. The Suez Canal, that massive shortcut for global trade, they funded it. The railways that started crisscrossing Europe and America, they financed them. They even gained control of the world's diamond supply through De Beers. Their influence wasn't just economic, it was geopolitical. They were so influential that their financing was later crucial in the creation of the State of Israel. They were literally laying down the tracks of the modern world.
And the wealth. My gosh, the wealth they piled up was just staggering. In just 30 years, their Paris branch alone saw its value multiply 100 times over. It got to the point where if any government in Europe was about to go bankrupt, the first call they made for a bailout wasn't to another country, it was to the Rothschild.
Really, the best way to think about it is like this. Today, when a country gets into financial trouble, they go to the IMF or the World Bank. Well, back in the 19th century, there was no IMF. There was just the Rothschild family. They were the lender of last resort for entire kingdoms. Which, of course, brings us right back to the central mystery. How does a family that is so powerful, so visible, so woven into the fabric of the global system just disappear?
Well, it wasn't an accident. It was a strategy, a deliberate 3-step plan to become invisible. Step 1, they pulled out of their public-facing roles, like setting the daily price of gold in London, something they'd done for nearly a century. Step 2, they moved their assets into an insanely complicated maze of private trusts, foundations, and holding companies, making it almost impossible to trace. And Step 3, they shifted their role. They stopped being the public lender and became the quiet, discreet advisor behind the scenes.
And this quote, which is attributed to the patriarch David de Rothschild, just says it all, doesn't it? Why be the guy on stage, the target for everyone, when you can be the director in the shadows? Power wasn't about having the most gold anymore. It was about telling everyone else what to do with their gold.
And then, in 2018, came the final move. The family took its flagship company, Rothschild & Co., completely off the stock market. By going private, they slammed the door shut. No more public earnings reports, no more list of clients, no more legal obligation to tell us anything. A total blackout.
So where does that leave them today? If their wealth isn't on the Forbes list, where is it? Well, this is where we step away from concrete history and into the modern theory of how their power actually works.
Okay, get this. For over 100 years, the two titans of global finance were the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. Old money versus new money. Europe versus America. They were the ultimate rivals. Then, in 2012, the unthinkable happened. They announced a strategic partnership. They joined forces, merging parts of their vast, hidden empires. The two greatest competing dynasties became one team.
Now, this secrecy and consolidation has led to some pretty wild theories, which, by design, are almost impossible to prove. The most extreme of these claims, the kind you often find swirling in conspiracy circles, suggest that through this web of trusts and companies, the family might have influence over a mind-boggling amount of global assets. Now, a number like 50% is almost certainly a massive exaggeration, but it does speak to the sheer scale of the mystery they've so carefully built.
And this, right here, is the absolute key to understanding it all. We make a mistake when we try to measure their power in cash. Look, a guy like Elon Musk is unimaginably wealthy, but he still needs a financial system to operate in. The real theory behind the Rothschilds' power is that they aren't just a player in the system. They are the system. They helped write the rules of international finance, of central banking, of national debt. They don't just have money. They built the operating system for money. Which leaves us with one last thought. Their story started on a street named for a red shield. Today, their family's coat of arms shows a clenched fist holding 5 arrows, a symbol of unbreakable unity and power. Their entire history is a masterclass in turning exclusion into dominance and raw visibility into quiet, unseen influence. So you have to ask yourself, is the world we see around us just a series of random events? Or are we all just watching a script that was written a very, very long time ago?